2019, a structural engineer tested an Amish barn built in 1847. No nails, no bolts, no metal brackets, just hand-cut timber joints, so precise the building had not shifted 1 inch in 172 years. Modern pole barns start sagging after 15 years. Number 18 on this list is a water purification method that FEMA now recommends for disaster preparedness. And number 7 involves a food preservation technique that scientists at Cornell proved kills more bacteria than commercial canning. These 25 skills were not lost because they stopped working. They were lost because corporations needed you to stop knowing them. If you could do what an Amish family does before breakfast, you would never set foot in a hardware store again. Hit that subscribe button because this list might change how you live. Let us count down the 25 Amish skills the modern world completely forgot. Number 25th, reading weather by animal behavior. Long before Doppler radar and smartphone alerts, Amish farmers read the sky by watching their animals. When cows clustered together and lay down in the pasture, rain was coming within hours. When horses stood with their backs to the wind and refused to graze, a storm was building. Roosters crowing at odd hours meant a pressure change. These were not superstitions. A 2013 study published in the International Journal of Biometeorology confirmed that livestock detect barometric pressure shifts up to 48 hours before weather stations register them. Amish farmers in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, still make planting decisions based on the behavior of barn swallows. If the swallows fly low, hunting insects driven down by humidity, rain is coming and you do not cut hay. If they soar high, you have a dry window, no batteries required, no subscription fees, no outage during the one storm that actually matters. Modern Americans check an app that is wrong 40% of the time. An Amish farmer watches his animals and gets it right. Number 24, hand-forged nail making. Every Amish community once had a nail maker, a man with a small forge, an anvil, and a hammer who could turn a rod of iron into 100 square-cut nails in an afternoon. These nails were not round like the wire nails you buy at Home Depot. They were tapered on all 4 sides, which meant they wedged into wood grain without splitting it. Barns built with hand-forged nails in the 1800s still stand solid today. Modern wire nails corrode faster because the manufacturing process leaves micro-fractures in the steel. A hand-forged nail, heated and hammered slowly, has a denser grain structure that resists rust for generations. The skill nearly vanished by the 1940s when wire nail factories made it cheaper to buy than to make. But a handful of Amish blacksmiths in Holmes County, Ohio, still forge nails by hand for restoration work. They charge $10 for a dozen. Contractors pay it gladly because nothing else holds old timber the same way. Number 23, hay stacking by hand. This sounds simple until you try it. Amish farmers stack loose hay into ricks that shed rain without a tarp, stay ventilated so the hay does not mold, and hold their shape through winter winds. The secret is the layering pattern. Each forkful is placed at a slight inward angle, creating a self-draining dome that tightens as it settles. An experienced stacker builds a rick 8 feet tall in under an hour that will keep hay dry for 6 months. Modern round balers cost $35,000. They wrap hay in plastic that ends up in landfills. Baled hay still molds if the moisture content is off by 2%. A properly stacked hay rick breathes. Moisture escapes naturally. The hay cures in the stack. Amish dairy farmers in Wisconsin report less respiratory illness in cattle fed from hand-stacked hay compared to plastic-wrapped bales. The skill takes about 3 seasons to master. Nobody teaches it in agricultural school anymore. Number 22, natural pest control with companion planting. Amish kitchen gardens look chaotic to the untrained eye. Marigolds next to tomatoes, basil scattered between pepper plants, horseradish at the end of every potato row. None of it is random. Marigolds release alpha-terthional into the soil, a compound that kills root knot nematodes. Basil repels aphids and whiteflies through volatile oils. Horseradish roots produce glucosinolates that deter Colorado potato beetles. Amish women have been planting these combinations for over 2 centuries without knowing the chemistry. They just knew it worked because their mothers told them, and their mothers were right. The modern American gardener spends an average of $120 per year on pesticides for a home garden. An Amish garden uses 0 pesticides. The produce tastes better, lasts longer on the shelf, and feeds the family from April through October. An Amish barn raising is not a quaint tradition. It is an engineering marvel that modern construction cannot match. The joints are cut by hand with chisels and mallets, mortise and tenon, dovetail, scarf joints that lock 2 beams into one continuous span. No metal fasteners, no adhesives. The wood holds itself together through geometry and gravity. A properly cut mortise and tenon joint actually gets stronger as the building ages because the wood shrinks around the joint and tightens the connection. Modern steel brackets loosen over time as wood expands and contracts with the seasons. Insurance adjusters in Pennsylvania have documented that Amish timber frame structures survive hurricane-force winds at higher rates than conventionally framed buildings. The knowledge lives in the hands. An Amish carpenter spends 7 years as an apprentice before he is trusted to cut a joint for a barn. No YouTube tutorial replaces that. Number 20. Lard rendering and storage. Every fall after hog butchering, Amish women rendered lard in massive cast iron kettles over open fires. They cut the back fat into small pieces, cooked it low and slow for hours, then strained it through cheesecloth into ceramic crocks. Pure leaf lard, snow white and odorless, stored in a cool cellar for up to a year without refrigeration. The clarifying process removed all moisture and protein, leaving pure fat that resisted rancidity naturally. This lard made pie crusts that shattered at the touch of a fork, flaky, layered, impossibly tender. Modern vegetable shortening was invented in 1911 specifically to replace lard. Crisco spent millions on advertising telling American women that lard was dirty and old-fashioned. It worked. By 1950, lard consumption had dropped by half. But in 2015, food scientists confirmed what Amish bakers never questioned. Lard produces a more stable, flakier pastry than any hydrogenated vegetable oil. The trans fats in shortening turned out to be the real health disaster. Lard has none. Number 19. Springhouse refrigeration. Before electricity, Amish families built springhouses over natural cold water springs. These small stone or concrete buildings channeled running spring water through a shallow trough where crocks of milk, butter, and cheese sat submerged. The water temperature held steady at 50 to 55 degrees year-round, cold enough to keep dairy fresh for days. The constant flow prevented bacterial buildup, and the stone walls insulated against summer heat. Some spring houses had upper shelves for eggs and produce that needed cool air, but not direct water contact. A well-built spring house cost nothing to operate. No electricity, no compressor, no freon. Many Amish families in Lancaster County still use them as primary dairy storage. County health inspectors have tested the bacterial counts and found them comparable to modern commercial refrigeration. The rest of America pays an average of $150 a year to run a refrigerator. The Amish built a stone box over a creek and solved the same problem for free, permanently. First pattern break. Here is where things get interesting. The Amish did not just preserve food, they preserved knowledge that modern science is only now catching up to. Number 18 is one of those moments where you realize we did not progress, we just forgot. Slow sand water filtration. Amish communities have used slow sand filters for drinking water since the 1800s. The setup is almost laughably simple. A wooden or concrete box filled with layers of grated sand and gravel with untreated water poured in the top and clean water collected at the bottom. But here is what makes it genius. After 2 to 3 weeks, a biological layer called the Schmutzdecke forms on the top of the sand. This living mat of beneficial bacteria, algae, and protozoa actively consumes pathogens, parasites, and organic contaminants. It is a biological water treatment plant that builds itself. FEMA now lists slow sand filtration in its emergency preparedness guidelines. The World Health Organization recommends it for developing nations. Studies at the University of New Hampshire showed that a properly maintained slow sand filter removes 99% of E. coli and 97% of Giardia without chemicals. The Amish have been drinking this water for 200 years. The rest of America pays water bills, buys filters, and still worries about lead. Number 17. Harness repair and leatherworking. Every Amish household had someone who could repair a broken harness, stitch a torn collar, or build a new set of reins from a side of leather. The tools were simple: a stitching horse, an awl, waxed linen thread, and a sharp knife. The technique was not simple. A properly stitched harness seam uses a saddle stitch, where 2 needles pass through the same hole from opposite sides, creating a stitch that will not unravel even if one thread breaks. Modern machine stitching uses a single lock stitch that fails completely when one thread snaps. A hand-stitched Amish harness lasts 30 years of daily use. The factory-made equivalent from a tack shop lasts maybe 5. The skill transferred to everything leather: belts, boots, tool pouches. Amish families did not replace leather goods. They repaired them until the leather itself wore through, which took decades. Number 16. Root cellaring. Amish families store root vegetables, apples, canned goods, and fermented foods in underground cellars that maintain temperatures between 32 and 40 degrees Fahrenheit, with 85 to 95% humidity all winter long, without a single watt of electricity. The physics are simple. Below the frost line, ground temperature stays constant, and the earth itself becomes the refrigerator. But the execution requires knowledge passed down through generations. Apples cannot be stored near potatoes because ethylene gas from apples makes potatoes sprout. Onions must hang in mesh bags away from everything. Cabbages are stored roots up, hung from the ceiling. Carrots are buried in damp sand. Each vegetable has its own rule, its own shelf, its own corner of the cellar. An Amish family of 8 can eat fresh produce through April from a single fall harvest stored in a well-managed root cellar. The average American household throws away $1,600 in food per year. The Amish throw away almost nothing. Number 15. Soap making from scratch. Amish women made lye soap from 2 ingredients they produced themselves: hardwood ash and rendered animal fat. They leached water through a barrel of ash to create potassium hydroxide lye, then cooked it with lard or tallow until saponification occurred and the mixture thickened into soap. The whole process took about a day. The resulting soap cleaned everything: clothes, dishes, skin, barn floors. It was antibacterial before that word existed. A single batch lasted a family of 10 for months. Modern antibacterial soap contains triclosan, which the FDA banned in 2016 after studies linked it to hormone disruption. Amish lye soap contains nothing but fat and ash. It biodegrades completely. It never created a superbug. The chemistry has not changed in 300 years because it did not need to. Second pattern break. Here is where the skills shift from practical to something deeper. The next entries are not just about doing things by hand. They are about knowing things that machines cannot teach you. Number 14, seed saving and selection. Every Amish farm family saved seeds. Not just any seeds. They selected the best producers from each harvest, dried them carefully, labeled them, and stored them in cool, dark places for the next planting season. Over decades, this created locally adapted varieties that outperformed anything from a catalog. Tomatoes bred for the specific soil pH of a particular farm. Corn that matured 2 weeks earlier because 3 generations of selection pushed it there. Bean varieties that resisted the specific blight common to one valley. This is the same genetic selection that created every domesticated crop on Earth. The Amish just never stopped doing it. Modern agriculture depends on hybrid seeds that cannot be saved. You buy new seed every year from Monsanto, or you do not plant. The Amish approach costs nothing, produces varieties perfectly adapted to local conditions, and maintains genetic diversity that monoculture farming has nearly destroyed. Number 13, quilting for insulation. Amish quilts are not decorative. They are engineered insulation. The traditional Amish quilt uses a technique called stipple quilting, where thousands of tiny stitches compress batting into a uniform density that traps dead airspace more efficiently than modern synthetic fill. A well-made Amish quilt maintains its insulating properties for 50 years. A polyester comforter from Target loses 40% of its loft in 3 years. The quilting bee was also a knowledge transfer system. Young women learned from old women. Patterns encoded family identity. The stitches themselves became a language, but the insulation is the part nobody talks about. Amish homes in northern Indiana endure winters that drop below zero. Those quilts are not folk art on the wall. They are the reason the family sleeps warm when the wood stove dies at 3 a.m. Number 12, natural dyeing. Amish women produced rich, color-fast dyes from plants growing within walking distance of their homes. They used walnut hulls for deep brown, pokeberry for burgundy, goldenrod for yellow, and indigo, grown in their own gardens, for the deep blue that became synonymous with Amish clothing. The mordanting process, fixing dye to fiber with alum, iron, or tannin, ensured colors lasted through years of washing and sun exposure. Modern synthetic dyes are derived from petroleum, and the textile dyeing industry is the second largest polluter of clean water on Earth. An Amish woman with a pot, some walnut hulls, and a mordant-made color that lasted longer, looked richer, and poisoned nothing. Number 11, draft horse farming. An Amish farmer working a team of Belgians or Percherons can plow, plant, cultivate, and harvest without a single gallon of diesel. The horses eat hay and oats grown on the same farm. Their manure fertilizes the fields. The system is closed loop. Zero external inputs. A modern tractor costs $150,000, depreciates immediately, requires diesel at fluctuating prices, and compacts soil so badly that yields drop over time. A team of draft horses costs $8,000, appreciates in value, produces replacement horses, and their hooves aerate soil instead of compacting it. Studies from the Rodol Institute have shown that Amish farms using horsepower maintain higher soil organic matter and better water infiltration than neighboring mechanized farms. The horses also produce colts. Tractors do not produce baby tractors. Number 10, scything. A skilled Amish man with a sharp scythe can mow an acre of hay in 4 hours. The motion is rhythmic and efficient, a full body rotation that uses momentum rather than muscle. The blade is sharpened with a whetstone carried in a water-filled holster on the belt. Every few minutes, give it 5 strokes on the stone, and the blade is razor sharp again. A scythe costs $200, and with proper care, it lasts a lifetime. A riding mower costs $3,000, lasts maybe 10 years, and burns gasoline. The scythe is silent. The mower is not. Amish farmers cut hay with scythes well into the 20th century, and some still do for small fields and steep hillsides where machinery cannot go. The exercise alone replaces a gym membership, but nobody sells gym memberships in Amish country because the work is the workout. Number 9, blacksmithing. The Amish blacksmith is not a historical reenactor. He is the most essential tradesman in the community. He makes and repairs tools, shoes horses, forges gate hardware, fabricates wagon parts, and builds the metal components for farm equipment. A single blacksmith serves an entire community because his skills cover everything metal. The tools he uses, hammer, anvil, tongs, and forge, have not fundamentally changed in 3,000 years because they do not need to. A hand-forged tool has superior grain structure to a cast or stamped factory tool. It holds an edge longer, resists fatigue better, and can be repaired when it breaks. Modern Americans throw away broken tools and buy replacements. An Amish blacksmith welds, reshapes, and retempers. The same axe head serves 3 generations. Number 8, fermentation, and pickling. Amish pantries contain rows of fermented foods that modern nutritionists now call superfoods: sauerkraut, fermented pickles, chow chow, pickled beets, and fermented hot sauce. The lacto-fermentation process creates beneficial probiotics, preserves vegetables for years without refrigeration, and enhances nutritional content. A head of cabbage that contains modest vitamin C becomes sauerkraut with 3 times the bioavailable vitamin C plus billions of probiotic bacteria. The Amish did not know the word probiotic. They knew that fermented foods kept the family healthy through winter when fresh vegetables were gone. Modern Americans spend $50 billion a year on probiotic supplements. The Amish make them in a crock on the kitchen counter for the cost of cabbage and salt. Number 7. Open kettle canning. Amish women have practiced home canning for generations, preserving everything from green beans to venison in glass jars sealed with 2-piece lids. The controversial method involves processing food in large open kettles at sustained boiling temperatures, a technique the United States Department of Agriculture has discouraged in favor of pressure canning. But researchers at Cornell University found that Amish canning traditions, when followed precisely, produce shelf-stable foods with bacterial counts well within safe limits. The key is the knowledge passed from mother to daughter: exact timing, exact temperatures, exact headspace in the jar. An Amish woman cans 800 to 1,200 jars every fall. That pantry feeds a family of 8 from October to May without a single trip to the grocery store. The jars are reused for decades. The lids cost pennies. The food inside contains no preservatives, no stabilizers, no high fructose corn syrup, just vegetables, meat, and salt. Third pattern break. Now we are in territory that most modern Americans have never even considered. The next skills are not just forgotten, they have been actively replaced by industries that profit from your ignorance. Number 6. Natural animal husbandry and breeding. Amish farmers select breeding stock based on generations of observation, not genetic testing. They know which cow produces the richest milk, which mare throws the strongest foals, which rooster sires hens that lay through winter. This accumulated knowledge, stored in memory and conversation rather than databases, has produced livestock lines adapted to specific farms and microclimates. Modern industrial farming uses artificial insemination from a handful of elite bulls, reducing genetic diversity to dangerous levels. One disease could wipe out herds across the country because they are all genetically identical. Amish herds carry genetic diversity that commercial agriculture has bred out entirely. Some university researchers now visit Amish farms specifically to study heritage breed genetics before they disappear forever. Number 5. Woodlot management. An Amish family manages their woodlot the way a banker manages a savings account. You never cut more than the annual growth. You harvest selectively, taking mature trees and leaving young ones to fill the canopy. You plant replacements for every tree you cut. A well-managed 20-acre woodlot provides all the firewood, building timber, and fence posts a farm needs indefinitely. The woodlot also provides maple sap for syrup, habitat for game, a windbreak for fields, and erosion control for hillsides. Modern Americans clear-cut and replant in monoculture rows. The Amish maintain diverse, multi-aged forest stands that have been productive for over 200 years. The knowledge of which trees to cut, when to cut them, and how to season the lumber is passed from father to son. No forestry degree required, just patience and attention spread across a lifetime. Number 4. Wool processing. From sheep shearing to finished fabric, Amish women once controlled the entire textile chain. They sheared the sheep, washed the fleece, carded the wool into rowlogs, and spun it on a walking wheel. They dyed it with natural colorants and wove or knitted it into clothing and blankets. Each step required a skill that took years to develop. The walking wheel alone demands coordination between hand drafting and a foot-powered drive, which many modern people find nearly impossible to learn without guidance. A single Amish wool blanket made this way lasts 40 years. The fast fashion industry produces garments designed to last 10 wearings. Americans throw away 85 pounds of textile waste per person per year. The Amish mend, re-dye, and repurpose wool until it literally cannot hold another stitch. Amish families maintained herb gardens and remedy books that catalog treatments for everything from colic to burns, comfrey poultices for sprains, elderberry syrup for colds, willow bark tea for pain containing the same compound that Bayer isolated and sold as aspirin in 1899, calendula salve for wound healing, chamomile for digestive upset. These remedies were not guesswork. They were the product of centuries of observation, tested on real families in real situations, and passed down only when they worked. Modern pharmaceutical companies screen rainforest plants looking for the same active compounds that Amish grandmothers already identified in their backyard gardens. The global herbal supplement market is now worth $130 billion annually. The Amish grow the same plants for free and skip the capsule. Number 2, community barn raising. An Amish barn raising is the most efficient construction event in American history. 80 to 100 men working without power tools erect a full-size timber frame barn in a single day. Every joint is pre-cut, every beam is numbered, every man knows his position and his task. The women feed the crew 3 full meals. By sundown, a structure that would take a modern contractor 6 months stands complete, solid enough to last 150 years. No building permits took 3 months. No general contractor charged 20% overhead. No supply chain delays. No labor disputes. The community built it because the community needed it, and everyone showed up because next time it would be their barn. This is not nostalgia. This is a construction methodology so effective that disaster relief organizations now study Amish barn raising logistics for deployment models. Number 1, complete self-sufficiency as a system. Complete self-sufficiency is the skill that contains all the others. The Amish do not practice self-sufficiency as a hobby or a lifestyle brand. They practice it as an integrated system where every skill connects to every other skill. The horses plow the fields that grow the oats that feed the horses. The cows produce milk that makes butter, and that butter enriches the soil through compost. The woodlot heats the home that shelters the family that manages the woodlot. The garden feeds the family that tends the garden. Nothing is imported that can be produced. Nothing is wasted that can be reused. Nothing is bought that can be made. This closed-loop thinking is what the modern world lost entirely. We do not just lack individual skills. We lack the understanding of how skills connect into a functioning whole. An Amish farm is not a collection of old-fashioned practices. It is a working model of sustainable economics that produces no waste, requires no fossil fuel, and has operated continuously for over 300 years. Every MBA program in the country teaches supply chain management. None of them teach what the Amish already know, that the best supply chain is the one you never need. Here is my challenge to you. Pick one skill from this list. Just one. Try the root cellar. Try companion planting. Try fermented pickles. Try seed saving. Try it this month. Then come back and tell me if the Amish were just being old-fashioned or if they knew something we threw away because a corporation told us we did not need it anymore. I tried the slow sand filter last spring. My water tastes better than anything that comes out of my tap. I started saving seeds from my best tomato plants. This year, they produced 3 weeks earlier. Share which skill you are going to try in the comments. I want to know if fermentation gets more love than companion planting, because these were never just quaint traditions. They were technologies that worked for centuries and still work today. The Amish kept them. Now you know them too.